Okay, so we'll go back to just answering the question of what requires a permit. Real quick, sorry for you all, you get the repetition. I'll go through it very quickly. But on the screen, you want to answer the question of what requires a permit. And what requires a permit, as we went through, to cut down a tree, to install a pool, a spa, a deck or a dock, to put a fence up, a generator. New construction always requires a permit. Additions always require a permit. An internal change out of the layout, internal floor plan. You knock down a wall internally, it requires a permit. If you're putting up an accessory structure, depending on the size, it will require a permit. If you put on a new roof, requires a permit. You do an attached or detached garage, or you enclose that detached garage and make it into a room, that requires a permit. Driveway, walkways require permits. The next question would be, does it require a plan review? And that's where we were on our next screen. These are the items that require plan reviews. New construction, obviously plan review. Commercial or residential. If it's in existing, but you do an addition to it, you see the next level, that requires a plan review. Driveways, walkways. You cut out a section of the driveway and replace it. The way the code looks at that is if it's significant enough and the amount is enough, it requires a permit. Siding requires a permit. Commercial, what kind of understand, requires a permit. You bought a space, it was a barber shop, you want to turn it into a paint shop, requires a permit if you're going to change your space out. Residential renovations, like we said, the gates. Now, not only permits, we're talking about these require plan reviews. And the time frame for the plan review you see is under the heading. Demolitions require a plan review. Decks require a plan review. Pools require a plan review. Cutting down 6 or more trees. One of our guests, I think we're learning, requires a plan review. Let's break it down. Anything new, 2-week plan review, generally. Anything existing residential, 5 business days plan review, typically. Anything commercial, 2-week plan review. There's some caveats in there, but basically, if you can remember that new construction or 2-week plan review, residential or 5 business days, commercial, 2 weeks. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So the question that was asked was for new construction of a home. Is an infill packet required? The answer to that is yes, for new construction, it is. And if I can explain this without being a zoning expert, it's basically a comparison of what you're proposing with your surrounding homes to make sure you're somewhat in compliance with what's already there. So it's called a fill-in, an infill. And you have to present to us that you're not going to stray so far away that the neighbors won't be lined outside the door asking, why is this building here? So that's called an infill packet. Anytime it's on a new construction, especially with residential areas, you'll have to have an infill packet. Sometimes, even if it's not new construction, but you're doing a significant amount that would change the exterior, we still might have to have an infill packet. All right. So if it doesn't require a plan review and it requires a permit, you submit your permit, we go through the process, it doesn't go through any type of review. But if it does require a plan review, which is the discussion here, let's go down to 3. Typically, you're talking about an intake process. The very first thing you want to do is go to our website and look at our applications. A lot of times, our applications will tell you in general what's required, at least a minimal amount of what you should turn in. That's going to be at eastpointcity.org under our permits page. Then also out there, some times we have references that you can use that you want to look at. For example, under the applications page of our website, if we scroll down, there's forms and guides. Some guides have been provided by our building department reviewer for accessory structures, additions, basement, deck covered patios, carports, decks, re-roofing, swimming pools. It's a reference to help you pass the review for the building reviewer. Give an example because we're going to use one. This is the Safe Built Guide, or we'll call it our building reviewer, for submitting for a deck. One, a site plan is required. It explains in here what a site plan is. You're basically doing a Google or an aerial view down on your site, and you're showing the dimensions of what you're proposing compared to your property line, your setbacks. The zoning reviewer and the building reviewer needs to see where you're placing what. They can't do that if they don't have a site plan. Is a survey a site plan? Yes and no. Your survey will definitely give you the boundaries of your property, but it's not going to give us the current layout of what you might have on it. It's not going to show the existing deck or the shed or the tree over here. So even if you use your official survey, which is fine, you still have to superimpose and draw on there your site. So we know where things are and where you're proposing to put things. And in the guide, it goes even further that if you're doing a deck, now you need construction detail. This gets into what you're using, how you're constructing something, the nails, the board, the frames. The reviewers have to make sure that you're doing it according to code. And so they provided some guidelines. I would definitely say that, like we said, the next step that you would want to do, go get the application and then look and see if we have any guides. After that, you're going to move to step 4. You're going to submit your application and your plans through our portal. When you initially submit it through the portal, we're going to check and see, have you given us enough to even move this forward? I'm going to pick at, let's say, myself. I decide, why do I have to turn in drawings? I just don't want to. I'm going to turn the deck application in without drawings. Well, our wonderful techs are going to see that you've turned that in, and they're going to immediately send it back and say, we can't even accept this because it's an incomplete submission. If you're applying for a deck, you need to have the drawings. So you'll get an email back. Then you can send back, I'm not going to turn in any drawings. We can't move it forward. All right. So, question by our project manager. Are the drawings required to be done by an architect, or can they be done by a homeowner or someone other than a design professional? Let's start off with what is required to be done by an architect. Anything commercial has to have a design professional on it. Let's just go ahead and label that. The reason for that is accountability and the safety of public and employees in a commercial building. The reviewers are going to expect that whatever you're doing to a commercial space you're submitting, you're going to need a design professional, architect, engineer, or whoever to do whatever calculations for that. Let's move over to residential. The answer is no. It's not required for us when you're doing any kind of modifications or anything, or even new, that it be done by a design professional. The catch to this, you still have to submit legible construction documents. Imagine you want to give to your builder this layout of plans. Most of the times when they're hand drawn, you can't build from it. You follow what I'm saying? So even if you do, you still have to make sure they're construction documents in the sense that they need to be legible. They need to be to scale. They need to clearly label everything and be straight lines. It needs to be something that one, the crew out in the field could use to build what you're proposing. Two, the inspectors to come and verify it. And three, the reviewers. So we definitely say that you don't have to have architect or engineer stamp drawings for residential. We will say they need to be quote unquote professionally drawn, legible, look like something you can work with. Does that make sense? Yes, sir. We won't know the difference. So if you're using AI to draw up what you're proposing to do, as long as you submit those set of plans and it presents everything that needs to be done in compliance and it's legible, if AI helps you do it, that's not for us to determine how you're doing it. You could just have when you're turning in your drawings, we need to clearly understand the story that you're telling pictorially, basically. That makes sense. So you can use AI, you can pay somebody, you can sit down and do it yourself. I'll give an example. If you get if you use AI to draw up commercials, the catch to it is you still will have to take whatever you have drawn up to an architect or engineer, and they have to put their stamp or seal on it. It's the accountability for commercial because it affects, again, the safety for the public and employees. You're going to have an architect or an engineer or a design professional sign off on any of your drawings for commercial. Sometimes that's cheaper. Some people still go off and do it themselves, and then they just get an architect or engineer to say, okay, I'll take accountability for it instead of getting them to draw it up. That's an option for you. Now let's move up to number 5. Let's say you submitted through the portal. We're good. We like to mention this. All right, you're sitting back and you're waiting. You turned it in. We sent you an invoice, but you know how we don't like bills that come in the mail. We don't look at it. Your review will not start if you don't pay your fee. So number 5 has to happen. The start of the review is from the time that the fee is paid. And the fee is the permit fee, the plan review fee, and the admin fee. We need that to be paid to start the process. It's not. Currently at the moment for building permits, it's based on the value of the job. We will be transitioning, but that's at a later time. But right now, we still do it based on the value of the job. Now, I have an example here. This is somewhat like an email that you will receive. It'll have your invoice attached, and it's going to request, can you make your payment? Up above, the payment email is going to look like this, and it's going to have a link. If you click on that link, it's going to take you to the BS&A website to make your payment online. You can also come in and make your payment with our cashier, either at the City Hall or at the Customer Care Center. After you make your payment, it informs us that the payment has been made. We can start this process. We're going to route it out for a plan review, which moves us to number 6. We're going to put a due date on it in harmony with that chart you saw. So just for reminders for audience participation, let's say this is residential. If you paid today and we wanted to do 5 complete business days, so you started from tomorrow, there's 5 complete business days. What day next week are we going to put on the due date? Thursday, yeah. The cheat sheet is it's 7 calendar days, 5 business days, 7 calendar days. So if we started Thursday, it's going to be due back next Thursday. All right. Trying to wake you up now again. If it's commercial, what's going to be the due date on your email? 2 weeks. So give 2 Thursdays. That's simple, right? That's the email that you will receive. So if you pay your invoice and then we start your review, you're going to get this email. It's a confirmation due date email. It's going to say we received it. We started your review. It tells you when to check back on your status with us. And we're telling you that the reviewers get this full amount of time to do their review. If they complete it sooner than that, you'll get an email when all of the reviewers complete the review. If they don't, they still have up until this time to complete the review. We know you're anxious. We know you really want it to happen soon, but it may frustrate you if you call us every day after we send you this email and then we still tell you, well, they have up until this time, and they do. So pay attention to that email, please. And it's the status. Now, this is the status email. Does it say it's going to be approved? No. It may, but you'll get a status. Now, after this date, we are hunting down our reviewers like you are. We have our homeowners, we have our contractors. We need a status. Where's our status? Trust me, we are advocates on your behalf. We are fighting for a status. You call us and say it was supposed to be due on October the 2nd. It hasn't been. It's October the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th. I can tell you right now, we have somebody that's harassing plan reviewers also. She's sitting in the back. We want you to get status also. And Director Smith has given us directives. Trust me, we are fighting on your behalf. You have our homeowner waiting on a status. We have other ways of escalating, but we just want you to know we're trying very hard to make sure you get a status based on this due date. So let's say you get the email status. If it's approved, fantastic, hooray, everything's great. The drawings are approved. We're going to stamp them. You'll go from 7 down to the finish line. 8A. As long as the fees have been paid, as long as the credentials of the permit holder is satisfied. Let me mention that if you're hiring a contractor, that contractor has to have their business license, that contractor has to have their state card, that contractor has to have an ID. Sometimes we get that contractor, according to the work, the contractor has to have a state card. We're going to have issues with issuing that contractor the permit. Because according to state law, certain things, they're supposed to have state certifications, like a doctor, a lawyer. If they're going to be doing this, they have to have state certifications. We'll let you know. You can talk to us. We'll let you know. This is something that maybe the handyman can do. There are not a lot of things that a handyman can do when it comes to anything structural. Anything cosmetic, possibly, but structural, according to state law, supposed to be a certified general contractor. Electrical, supposed to be a certified electrician. Mechanical, HVAC, supposed to be a certified mechanical person, and plumbing. Those by Georgia law, they're going to have those state certifications. And we cannot issue that permit unless they do. But the good news is your plans are still sitting here approved. You might just have to find another contractor who has the credentials. If you have the credentials, the fee is paid. We're issuing this permit down here at 8A. Yay, great, go to work. If you have some comments, if there's some concerns that the reviewer has where they can't approve this yet until something needs to be cleared up, maybe there's a code violation, maybe there's something that's not in compliance, anything, you would get an email that states, yeah, we need a little help. I'm wording that softly. That's on 8B. You will get an email. It's going to tell you, these are the comments that are attached. These are the reviewers if you want to reach out to them. You can request for us to do a plan review meeting for you. That's us being an advocate for you. We're trying to pull together everybody. We're trying to get the reviewers and whoever designed the drawings for you. If you drew them up, great. You be the one on the plan review meeting. But please, please, please remember this. When you request a plan review meeting, the person that drew up your plans need to attend. Does that make sense? And the reason we almost beg for that, you'll have somebody drop your plans, and then that's usually the last time you talk to them. And we understand that. Money may be involved. But when the reviewers are saying something in those plans is not right or not correct, a lot of times you and I are just lay persons. We're not getting into the code. We don't really understand why they're saying this doesn't work. So we're saying, let's be bystanders. We'll have a meeting of the minds. Who drew up your plans? Let them be on the plan review, and you can talk to the reviewer. And that reviewer will be on a virtual meeting and is supposed to explain to who drew it up, I need you to fix this. If you fix this, it'll pass the next one. We've seen almost 90% of the times, if we can get a plan review meeting, your questions will be answered. So we strongly advise, if you get a denial, even on the first one, go down to 9, request a plan review meeting. At least it'll clear up some confusion. Now, sometimes we still have issues with what the reviewer is saying, maybe the designer is saying is not needed. You still have, there has to be a meeting of the mind, because if the reviewer is quoting code, then the designer also has to say, yeah, but you might be making a mistake. There's an exception here, over here, and over here. We have to get everybody in accord so that we can get these plans approved. Does that make sense? Any questions? So the question was, if you're at an impasse with one of the reviewers, what steps should you take? You come see us. We are the caveat between the reviewers. We have to pull them together. And basically, like we're saying, what has to happen is, if they're quoting code, they have to prove it. If your designer's quoting code, your designer has to prove it. Somewhere in between there's a meeting of the mind. Now, I will say this. It depends on how firm the code is, if it's very explicit. Sometimes there's gray areas. We all know that. Depending on those gray areas, that is a determination by the chief building official. The way the code reads is the chief building official is the one that determines what's acceptable construction documents. You would be meeting probably with myself, the director and assistant director, and the chief building official. We have to clearly get an understanding of what's going on. Is this a code violation? Why can't this move forward? And that's the best way of dealing with that. I can't say how a determination be made, but that's how you escalate that. Not particularly with what you're saying, because you're in a plan review process. A lot of times, if there's an official denial or an issued permit, there is an appeal process, but we rarely have ever had to get to an appeal process where there's like an appeal panel that involves the city of East Point. We've rarely ever had to do that. Most of the times we can work something out when we pull together everybody and get an understanding of what's being asked and why is there an impasse. So you're good. I know we'll have to talk more, and I'm pretty sure our director is over here. So we'll definitely, if you ever get to that, you still come talk to us. You're there. Okay. You're welcome. So let's go back and say you got an email that said, we need a little bit more help. You have some denial comments. This would be the email that you would receive. Your plan review has been denied for this address. The comments are attached. You see it's going to have an attachment there. It's going to tell you to view safe built comments. You click on the link. And it also has another email that after you've looked at your comments and you're ready to resubmit, there's another email that has the resubmittal link. That's the way you resubmit. You definitely use the resubmittal link. At times we can help you if you're having difficulties with your resubmittal, but we truly, truly, truly need you to use the link in the email. There's no bringing in a piece of paper sitting in the lobby trying to get us to scan it in. There's no emailing it to us. You need to put it in the portal. The portal triggers it and tracks it. It helps us and it helps you. Emailing gets very tricky because I'm going to be honest, sometimes when you email, the person you emailed to might be on vacation. Then you say it sat there for a week. We've told you to put it through the portal. You see what I'm saying? If you put it through the portal, it's definitely in the system. Bringing it in on a piece of paper. We're strongly encouraging, please use digital if you can. We understand there's certain circumstances that we can help out. But the problem with paper, as you all may have experienced, if you bring us this on an 8 by 11 piece of paper, and the minimum one is 11 by 17. But if you bring it on 8 by 11 piece of paper and we scan it in, it scans it flat. So have you ever seen that when you zoom into something that you scanned in, then it's no longer clear? Well, by default, reviewers automatically get to deny it if they can't read it. It's not legible. So that's why it's called making sure you use it in a PDF format. So it's scalable. Scalability means that it can blow up and it keeps the features so that it can be read. That's why we're telling you, we don't take hard copies because we run into this a lot. Even when we scan it in, when you blow it up, they can't read it. And the smaller you write, the worse it gets. So we need your help on that. Make sure you resubmit in a PDF format, which is the best format for us, through the portal. Then they can blow it up. I'm glad you asked that. So let's say you forced our hand. We're trying to help you. You submitted it in person or via email. We put it through. We're going to send it through. But again, we've kind of been saying, might not work out well. So this was a resubmittal, right? So there was the first denial. And now what's going to happen? If they can't read it, denial number 2. 3 strikes is not good for our review process. Here's the reason why. That plan review fee that you paid up front, the city of East Point is not like other municipalities where you have to pay every review initially. The city of East Point gives you 3 reviews with that first payment of the plan review fee. So we're hoping and trying that we get it right before you get to submission number 4, because after that, submission number 4, and our ordinance does say every time you resubmit and the city has to literally look at drawings again for corrections that they asked you to make before, by our ordinance, we have to assess the plan review fee again. I cannot get around that. Being the permit manager, I'm bound by ordinance. I have to assess that plan review fee. Is that, and I get it a lot. Why? We go back and look at the comments. They've asked you 3 times. So they've asked you 3 times not to give it to us on hard copy. They can't read it. Gets to the 4th time by ordinance. You keep putting city services to work. You have to pay for the service. That makes sense. And I'm saying it as nice as I can because we've had a few times where we've had to add this fee to it, and then we have to show them in our ordinance, we don't have a choice. So to make all of that short and sweet, you get 3 times. Let's get it. If we don't get it right the first time, let's schedule a plan review meeting. Let's bring everybody together. Let's talk with everybody. And by the second time, let's try to get it right. When we have special cases, those are special cases. If not, let's try to get it right by the second time and especially the third time. That makes sense? Yes, Ms. Walker. Yes.
That separate document because they say what's supposed to be in the plan. How should that be addressed as bidder?
Okay. So for those on Zoom, when you get a denial, oftentimes the reviewers, or especially our building reviewer, will say, submit a comment summary. Kind of give us the narrative of this is what was wrong and this is what you fixed. Sometimes that comment summary is uploaded as a separate document. Inside of the plans, typically you're supposed to just bubble corrections like that. That comment summary does not have to be attached to the plans. It helps if it is, but that's not a part of drawings. Those are just comment summaries to help. It's a narrative. So if that get all confusing, we have to go back and look at that too. But it's just a comment section to kind of give a person to help them out. And if I can zoom in. Okay. Right. And that's a good point. Each reviewer may request of certain things. More heavily is going to be your building reviewer, of course, because they really have to look at everything. If your comment sheet that you turn in is irrelevant to the water and sewer department, then theoretically water and sewer should not be doing denial because they didn't read your comment. However, as long as you still addressed what water and sewer wanted in the drawings, and maybe you put a bubble around it. I've rarely seen other departments other than the building reviewer to want a comment summary. And it's literally because they have most of the comments. So again, it's one that we have to dig down in the weeds to see, are they missing something? Because I typically don't see any of the other departments asking for a comment summary other than the building reviewer. So when they're going back looking at what you resubmitted, they're looking in the drawings to see if you corrected what they did. And what they're looking for is the standard highlight of some type of red bubble, some type of comment, some type of indication that this has been fixed. So they're going to zoom in, they're going to look at what they asked for you to turn in the last time, and then they're going to zoom in on what you turned in this time, and hopefully it's been corrected. Yeah, and if they missed it, that's what I said. We have to have a meeting of the minds. But I highlighted, I zoomed in on this, and you'll see this is an example of if you needed to make corrections on drawings, it's kind of like an example. You see the little red bubble around something? This was an indication that that wasn't on there before, and they made a correction. And now they put this red bubble around it because they want the reviewers to see it this time. Hey, I fixed this. Don't deny me again. All right, so we're going to look at another email example. So we saw the one that had the comments attached. This is a very, very important email. This is the resubmittal link email. I wanted to show this on the screen because it's an example. This is what's going to be worded. And the biggest thing you want to see in this is that submit documents link. We often get, how do I resubmit? It's here. It tells you, use the submit document link. We have it in this email about 3 or 4 times. Please use this link. When you click on that link, it takes you back to your portal under your login so that you can upload corrections. If you don't get it, reach out to us. We'll send you the link. Sometimes it gets a little confusing because, and I'll give an example, we'll have a permit expediter that turned it in, but the owner's the one that's talking to the architect to get the drawings up. The GC might not have turned it in. So a lot of times who's getting the email is not the one who's paying to get the drawings put in. And then we just have to have a conversation because we typically can only have one applicant. That applicant that gave us the initial email is the one that's going to get all of the updates. All right, after you resubmit your drawings, you go back into the rotation. You'll get another, what type of email? You put the due date in, you'll get a confirmation due date email telling you when to check the status. Now this time, I'm hoping we get down to 8A. That makes sense? But I do want to give an example with this of one that you all can help me out with. We're going to say we're going to submit for a deck permit. I've gone and I've gotten the deck application. I'm saying I'm putting in a $30,000 worth of value for a deck, installing a new deck 20 by 20 square feet. I've completed this, basically put in all my information, listed who the property owner is, listed who the contractor is, business license, and I want to turn this in. Now, also in the application, hopefully I've read the suggestions that the building reviewer has given, because this is what they're going to be looking for. So this is attached to the deck application as one of the examples. Hopefully I've read this. If you all can recall, 2 things, especially for a deck, we can all say it together: site plan, construction details. Minimal, right? Site plan, construction details. Let's say it together. Site plan, construction details. Can anybody recall what a site plan should at least tell the reviewer? If you're the reviewer, you're zoning, what do you need to approve this in a site plan? Take a guess, anybody. Okay, good. She said how long it is. I like that. What else? This is an example. You see what's that? Where it fits. Okay, yes, ma'am. Setbacks. All right, for layman's terms, help us out. Anybody know what a setback is? All right, good, good. You know we have a position open, right? Oh, okay, sorry. She did good. She said to some degree, a setback determines how far something is supposed to set back from your property line. It helps. And as she stated, depending on the zoning or depending on the use, there are different setbacks. So you have to give your property line where things are. And if you notice, you see in this drawing, they're saying 25 feet from this box right here to here is 32 feet, or this accessory structure. And then they say where the deck is, where the existing house is, the existing driveway. This is a site plan. Does that help? That's the first thing. So that helps zoning. It also helps the building reviewer to know where you're doing things, where you're putting it. They have to know this because I'm just going to be honest. We have Ms. Walker here that's on address A, and we have Lisa here that's on address B. And Ms. Walker just so happened to put this deck right next to Lisa's side of her window. Lisa's down in our office the next day saying, I know she crossed the setback lines. Does that make sense? Then Lisa says, who approved this permit? I want to do an open record. I want to see what they proposed. When Lisa does that, we at the City of East Point better had done our job. And at least said what we approved said that Ms. Walker knew she was supposed to be 5 feet over. Now, Ms. Walker might go out there and put it within 3 feet. But then now that's what Lisa gets to say. All right, I know how to deal with you now. Or I'm picking one of our worst examples, a fence. Not all neighbors are best neighbors. What's your name, sir? Kendall. And in the back, Ashley and Kendall. I picked on Miss Walker. I got to be fair. I'm going to pick on you, Kendall. Kendall puts up a fence. For some strange reason, after you put up this fence, Kendall, Ashley is in our office the next day. She is swearing up and down that that fence is on her property. What can she do about it? We'll try to say, well, that's kind of a civil matter. But then she says, well, how did he get the permit? Well, okay, let's go back. She does an open record. I want to see it. We go back and we look at this site plan. According to this site plan, and it didn't have to be an official survey typically, but if it does, sometimes we'll request that because we're trying to help out. But it's being implied that when you have this square around it and you put your fence inside this square, that actually you're promising that you're not going to put that fence on what? His property. Now, I'm not going to say how mad Mr. Kendall is, and maybe actually when you come out there the next day, he has taken down that whole left side of that fence. Because by law, Mr. Kendall can do what he wants on what? His property. That fence is on his what? I said by law. It may turn out to be a legal matter, but by law, it's on his property. You shouldn't have put his fence. If he can prove that that fence crossed over his property line, he's not, because maybe he had that. That's law. Yes, Ashley. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Let's say that, like you said, you're getting into territory and fences. What ultimately may happen, you've done open records and it shows that technically he was supposed to put it where he said he was. But you have a survey that said this, and he has a survey that say that. You might not like where this is going. I cannot advise you what to do because we're not legal experts here. I can tell you that more than likely that's going to be resolved as a civil matter depending on how you pursue it, because the city can't do anything about that. If he has something that says this and you have something to say that, most of the time we've seen that get resolved by some type of court action. That makes sense? And somebody has to be the tiebreaker. And it's usually one of the judges who's an expertise in real estate property and down in Fulton County property. And they've looked at this and they go back and look at, has the property changed? Did something happen? Did Mr. Kendall make up this survey? Ashley, did you make up your, it gets sticky. That's if you pursue it that way. But that's especially if you have two surveys showing two different things. Go ahead. So if he put his fence more on his property, more on his property, and it just left room, and then you put a fence right, butted up against this fence, but did you put the fence on his property? See, it doesn't matter where he put his fence. What matters is the person putting the fence on someone else's property. He could have moved it back. But if he didn't give you permission to give you 5 feet to put it in his property, you still are violating his rights by putting something on his property. Now, can this be worked out amongst neighbors? I sure hope so. I can only answer that. But that's if, like I said, if Mr. Kendall is that nice and Ashley, you're that nice, or y'all work it out, maybe. That's how that works. Yes, Jasmine. Mm-hmm. An open record request is your ability to ask the city if there's any public information about your property, any past permits, any past inspections, any liens on your property. An open record could be anything. You have to be very specific. You go to the city clerk's office and you make the request. We like to tell everybody, ask for everything in the kitchen sink. It's not going to hurt you. And we try very hard to advise you for any property, even before you start doing any permits, go and do an open record to see if anything's there. I'm going to pick the worst case scenario. It helps when you do this. We'll pick the worst case scenario. You see a beautiful home, beautiful. I mean, this thing is the candy of the neighborhood compared to the neighborhood. I'm not going to pick on any neighborhood, but it's the candy of the neighborhood. It looks brand new. You and your realtor, you're ready to buy. We still ask you, do an open record request. Reason why? You might find that this newly renovated home has no what? Permits. Woo! That does not turn out well. Now, we can't advise you not to buy the property. That's still up to you. What we will tell you is this renovation that probably has new electrical, mechanical, plumbing, the walls are new sheetrock and everything. Who looked at the electrical that was behind that wall? Not the city. Who looked at the plumbing that's behind that wall? And the wall is covered. Not the city. Who looked at the new roof that's on the house? Not the city. Not one permit has been pulled. Now, in the city of East Point, if the power's been off for over a year, and you come and you want to turn the power on, woo, that's and I got you. Because for the city, they're going to send you back over to the permit department to say, power's been off for over a year. And typically, we know the industry. We all know sometimes we have a couple of neighbors that when power's been off for years or a house has been abandoned for years, that copper in that house is good for me to go in and steal and take to the junkyard. So a lot of times we're just speaking reality, vandalism probably has occurred. And so if it's been completely renovated after and it looks brand new after a year, everything's in it's new. So over at customer care, they're sending you over to us anyway, because they are terrified to turn the power on. Wouldn't you? Because when you do, we all know if something happens, king and king tell you just one call us, and who do they want to sue? We all know they go for the big fish. Who's the big fish? East Point, the government. Why did they? So yeah, there's everybody's scared. So when you find out that no permits have been pulled, maybe that's a conversation. We can't tell you not to buy it, but now you might want to check on. We're going to tell you we cannot turn the power on. We don't know what's behind those walls at all. You got to pull permits. That turns out to be a problem. Oh no, I'm not pulling permits. Everything's up. Okay. You still got to pull a permit if you want us to inspect it. And I'll say like Kendall, I'm gonna pick on Kendall again. Kendall has a state license that can be sued. That wall has been completely covered. Kendall knows that the house was built in 1960. It has no permits on it, and it looks like one of those model homes today. Is Kendall gonna let his license be in jeopardy by approving all the electrical behind that wall? What is Kendall gonna tell you? In order for him to approve that inspection, and here's where everybody hates this term. What was that, Lisa? Take it down. Nobody likes that. But isn't that the only way you're gonna approve it? I don't know what's behind that wall. You're gonna take all that sheetrock down, everything. Oh my God! Now that you and the realtor fussing about this price, that's you done added 10,000 to this was a beautiful house. We might allow a caveat, and the caveat is we can't inspect it unless we're gonna tell you take everything down so we can see what's being done, or you pull your permits. You still got to turn in some drawings because we have to have an approved floor plan. But you go out and you get you an independent engineer to do all the inspections, to approve all of the work. Basically, the city is saying that same stamp or seal, somebody else has to put their liability on it. Our chief building official will allow you to do that. But you still got to get all your permits. You still got to have a plumbing permit, electrical permit, mechanical permit, and a building permit. But then you still got to have an approved set of drawings because basically the floor plan we have of the house is what? 1940. So we still have to have an approved floor plan. But if you can go out and get your own inspector, certified inspector, they have to have the same credentials as an inspector in-house. It can't be the home inspector that just quickly look at it for an appraisal. It has to be a code compliance inspector. They approve your roughs. They approve your finals. Our chief building official says, okay, we'll come out and take one last look at it with all of their credentials. You're approved. Now, from the city's point of view, everybody's happy. We have all our permits. We have an approved set of floor plans, and we have a sign off by an engineer or an architect. Enjoy your home. So we mentioned that because of open records. We please do open records. Have no problem with it. If you get back, there's nothing on this house, call us. We'll explain. You have a new roof? Didn't have a roof permit. Okay. All right. So pretty good, I guess. We've kind of allowed the floor to be open. That's pretty much, in a nutshell, the plan review process. Okay. I can check, but I do believe for tree permits, the permit is good for a year. For construction permits, that's dictated by code. For construction permits, your permit will expire in 180 days with no activity. I saw everybody like, what in the world? I can't build a house in 6 months. Well, it's with no activity. That's the way the code reads. And what that means is the clock is going to keep ticking from your last inspection to another 180 days. The only way we can keep track of activity is an inspection has to be requested. So that keeps moving your expiration date out. Does that help? Okay, we can open it. It's 180 days. We're good for questions? All right. All right, open the floor. Anything else related to plan review? So in general, at least with the process and your map with the colors. Okay. Can you reach out to your technical reviewer directly? Yes. If you are denied and you get comments, one, I will say for the building reviewer attached in their drawings, they'll actually have the reviewer for that field that you can reach out to in an email. And in our email, in-house technical reviewers, in the email, we have a link to this. This is also on our website, but in that email link, it has this. This lists all of our technical review departments, their email address, name, and phone number. You are free to reach out to them. Hey, I don't understand your comments. Or can you help me with this? As soon as you get that email, you're free to reach out to them. If you're having concerns and can't reach out to them, that's where you email us and you say, look, I need for you all to be an advocate for me. Can you schedule a blank blank for me? Someone throw it out there. I'll go ahead, Ms. Walker. Schedule a plan review meeting for me. We will gladly do that for you. And what that is, we're already in the practice of typically every Wednesdays between the hours of 2 and 5, our city reviewers are aware that if we schedule a plan review meeting on behalf of one of the submitters, please be available virtually to be online to explain your comments to the applicant. Now, again, don't let it get to denial number 3 before you request a what? Plan review meeting. I'm repeating it. I'm beating it down. On denial number 1, unless you're 100% sure you're going to get it right, request a plan review meeting. It's a service. We will gladly do it. We want the reviewers to explain to you what's needed. I can't look over there at our guests, but yes, we want them to explain to you what's needed. That helps. Anything else? Any other questions? Yes, Ashley. All right. We do have an option of what's called a concept review. And for most of the times, those concepts are for new development because typically it's a brand new idea. It's a new concept that the city hasn't seen. Let's say you want to put a strip mall. It's nothing but trees and dirt. You would initially submit to us just kind of like a site rendition, maybe an idea. That allows for the city to look at what you're proposing and provide comments to help you out with further submittals. It also allows all of our departments to get an idea of what's coming. And we love concepts because it helps us. You have a big project like that. After we give you some comments, we in turn schedule you for a virtual concept review meeting. So you get the comments back, and then a week after that, you get a virtual meeting. All of the reviewers are supposed to be there, and they're supposed to give you enough information to at least tell you what's next. That's the key. For you to walk out a concept and not know what's next, we still kind of left you in the dark. So we're going to lay out, okay, in order for you to do what you need to do, this is zoned something. For you to do what you need to do, you're going to have to do a rezoning. So you might get that from zoning. And then you might get from transportation. Woo, for what you want to do, you're going to have to do a curb cut on this street. So when you get to your land disturbance, you might need to do that. And you might need to do a traffic study. So we're basically giving you general information, at least an outline of what you need to do. Not code compliance yet, because we don't have any construction drawings yet. You hadn't even turned in your civil drawings for land disturbance, but we're giving you an outline of how you're going to interact with us for your project. Yes, sir. It is a concept application. Yep, it's a concept application, and you basically summed it up. We like to see two things. Three, the application, a site drawing that always helps us, and a minimal amount of renditions that will help us. You can even give us the CAD drawing of the new townhome community. We're not getting into the construction details yet, but you're at least giving us enough so that we can do research and then get back with you and lay out what you're going to need. Go ahead, Ashley. Yes, it is. The applications is on our applications and forms page. Give me a minute, I'll see if I can locate it. But I will tell you right here on the BSNA page, since I'm already there, after you've logged in and you do a search, I'm using our test address. Next. What is your submittal application concerning? It's sorted alphabetically now. Concept review option. Go ahead, Ashley. Oh, yeah, good. Is it commercial? Take a guess. There you go. Any other questions? We rarely do concepts for residential because typically, if it's an existing lot, you really don't need a concept. You're either going to put a house there or something, you'll submit for that. If it's a new subdivision, yes, you see what I'm saying? You're clear cutting a whole area. So most of our concepts are commercial, new development, or truly an abandoned commercial lot, and you're coming in to clean it up, which is almost new. You might have to knock down some existing buildings and do this and do that. It's so overgrown, you'll probably have to do land disturbance permit. We'll do a concept in that case, but typically concepts are new development. Any other questions? Yes, Kimberly. Very good question. Let me rephrase, at least for those on Zoom, on Teams. The question was, after you've gotten all of your permits and your inspections, and if perhaps you need your certificate of occupancy, are there any additional steps? To be issued a certificate of occupancy for commercial, it is a fee of $115. So you just submit the application. For commercial, there has to be an official sign off by the building official and the fire marshal. The good news is, with a little nudging from our director, I'll give her kudos for that. She has almost gotten everybody where we're on board, where by the time you do your last building final, if you've given us this application, it's sitting there waiting for them to sign off on the building final. Before that, if you allow too much time, guess what has to happen? They have to come back and look at it. Because when they walk away, they're saying that the way we saw it now, that's how you need to open on a commercial location. So we have it where now, if you pretty much have turned in the application and you're almost getting to your building final is 1 week away or 2 weeks away. As long as you turn in that application, we get the approvals. Most of the time, the fire marshal and the building official will say, I don't want to go back. I just saw this place. And you'll get that issued. Yes, ma'am. Okay, good question. So the building final is not a separate application. The building final is actually attached to your permit. So you have a building permit. So your contractor will just request a building final in the system. You do have to submit a separate application for the certificate of occupancy. And like I said, the fee for that is $115. But as long as you have your building permit, the building final is one of those inspections. If you had sprinklers or something like that, you already have fire permits. One of those inspections will bring the fire marshal out there. So if they sign off on that, it can all be lined up where by the time you get your building final, the next day, we can also issue your certificate of occupancy. Residential? Oh, yes, ma'am. At the moment, you at least have to submit for the application. For that, if I'm following along as to where we're leaning, it's probably going to be a process that we implement to help you out, where we're reminding you before you get your building final, hey, you need to submit for this application. Residential, slightly different. Fire marshal doesn't have to come out for residential. You turn in your residential certificate of occupancy for whatever it's for, you get your building final, we issue it. You're welcome. Any other questions? Plan review, permit, got the floor open. All right. I want to say thank you for everyone. You can take your handouts, you can take your map. I believe you're also going to get a copy of the video when it's available if you want to go back and look at this. And all of these will be in a PDF format too. All right, thanks everyone.